Resource exploration and development company Altona has released its scoping study for its Monte Muambe Rare Earths project in Mozambique. And this milestone investor update has not gone unnoticed by the market, with shares responding positively in early trade. I'm delighted to be joined by the Chief Executive, Cédric Simonet. So, Cédric, a lot of numbers in this update, but did they exceed expectations?
Good morning, Sarah. What I would say is that they met expectations for a scoping study. Let's look back at what a scoping study is and what is the purpose of a scoping study. A scoping study is a first pass complete assessment of the viability of a project. It contains parameters such as the net present value and the IRR, but these are aimed at showing is a project in a first pass viable. And we've been very conservative in all the figures we used. Snowden, the consultant who prepared the scoping study, has been very strict. So we've been very careful to show that this project is viable at the level of a scoping study. Plus 35%, minus 35% in terms of the cost estimations. And this result gives us an excellent confidence that the project at this level is viable and that we have the green light to continue to the pre-feasibility study.
Okay, so you're now confident enough to progress to pre-feasibility stage, but how, at this stage, how economically viable is the project? Will shareholders get back what they put in?
All right, so these are two different questions, and there will be two different answers. In terms of economic viability, the NPV with the 8% discount rate of the project is 283 million, which is already a very good start. Now, as I said, we have been very conservative. Our best case scenario uses the low side scenario of the price forecasts from Adamas Intelligence. So we've been very careful. If you look at our upside scenario, which uses just the base case of the price forecast from Adamas Intelligence, then NPV 8 with an 8% discount rate is already over $400 million. So we are happy with the viability of the project as it is. There are lots of opportunities for optimization, for looking at all the costs in detail, for looking at the process, for looking at doing further value addition in country, and we will look at this through the pre-feasibility study. Now, with respect to your other question about the value that the investors have invested, ultimately, it will depend on whether we are able to monetize the project, either through developing it or through bringing in a strategic partner or even selling the project at a certain point. For us to be able to do this, we need to advance with the pre-feasibility study. The scoping study gave us a first pass go. Now we are going into the pre-feasibility study, and the pre-feasibility study will tell us even more about the ultimate viability of the project.
Okay, you'll have to forgive me for being slightly overexcited there, but then the next steps are de-risking the project. So what does that mean, and what will you be doing?
Okay, there are several activities which are planned. The first one is that this project is held under an earn-in agreement. So currently, Altona holds 20% of the project, and by delivering this scoping study, we are now entitled to hold 51% of the project. We already had control over the project through the control of the board, but now we are getting to 51%, and the contractual and administrative processes to get there are currently being done in Mozambique. That's why I'm here in Maputo. Once we finish the scoping study, we will get to 70%. So this 51% is one aspect which is going to de-risk the project over the next few weeks. The other important aspect is that in Mozambique, we now have sufficient information to prepare a mining concession application, and we are going to apply for a mining concession. The Mozambique government tends to issue mining concessions at an earlier stage of the life of projects than other jurisdictions. And this is very, very good because it helps to de-risk the project at an early stage. What that means also is that we will address at the same time the environmental studies, and we will address also the land rights for the mining operations. So these are all de-risking parameters. The remaining part is that as we get into the pre-feasibility study, there is a lot of work, obviously, that needs to be done. And we are going to put a lot of accent on the metallurgy to make sure it is optimized and give us the best value as possible.
So you've been very constant in referencing local partners within the project. Who are they and what's the relationship like with them?
Yeah, so our local partners are Mozambican businessmen. The chairman, the non-executive chairman of our local subsidiary, Monte Muambe, is someone called Pedro Manjate. He's a very experienced businessman in Mozambique, and he's been the original owner of the license. So these local partners are very important for us because they bring the experience of the Mozambique operating environment, the Mozambique business environment. They know the countries, they know the people, the way people think. It's very important to be able for a company to integrate itself with the local culture, the local way of doing business. And they are extremely supportive from the beginning. They've been really supporting 100% of the project. They are as excited as you with the results of the scoping study and the progress.
Yes, so it was an interesting choice of words I used there. I think I meant to say impatient, but yes, we are excited. So let's drill back into that investor update, which has generated so much excitement. Just picking out one phrase, the magnet metals present at Monte Muambe will represent 90% of the project's future revenue. So I'm just wondering what's providing the rest.
All right, so there is actually a small typo in that part of the RNS, and I think I will have to correct it. Because we changed some of the parameters of the scoping study at the last minute to make sure it was as conservative as possible. We wanted to be really, really sure that our project was viable with conservative parameters. So if you remember previous presentations that we did, we said that 90% of the value contained in the ground is the magnet metals, and the remaining 10% are the other rare earth elements. In the pricing model we finally decided to choose, we are using only the magnet metals for paying. So it's actually 100% of the revenue in the current model. We will see if there is anything we can valorize in the remaining part, but to be conservative, we've left it aside. And there is also a possibility that we will be able to have other minerals byproducts because these carbonatite deposits have many different minerals. So there's also a possibility that we will get a byproduct, but we will see that with the advanced metallurgical testing during the pre-feasibility study.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for correcting that typo. They do happen. Going back to the impatience, and I think you've probably answered this already, but I'm going to ask you again. We are talking about the shape of the project to come. So how long before it's up and running, and how long before all the metals are extinguished?
All right, that's a good question. So according to the competent person report, which has been published this morning, the timeline, if everything went well, would take us to the first production by the end of 2028, by December 2028. And then based on the current resource statements, the project would have a mine life of 18 years. Now, one of the things we will do, because there are many different possible upsides we want to look at in the PFS. One of the things we will do is that we will do additional drilling on the two mineralized bodies which form the base of the resource estimate. We will drill down deep because we've not drilled very deep yet to increase the resource statement. So that may result in an increase of the mine life, of the life of mine.
Okay, so you haven't drilled very deep yet. So what's the plan with the drilling campaign to go deeper?
Yeah, that is correct. My objective is to take the resource estimate to 20 million tons in a measured and indicated category next year, so that can be converted into an actual ore reserve, which means what is viably extracted in the framework of the PFS. And we've got a very well-defined strategy to get to this objective. Target 1 has been drilled down to about 150 meters below the surface, and target 4 has been drilled down to a little bit less than 100 meters below the surface. So the pit shells, which have been designed for the scoping study, basically the bottom of the pit corresponds to the bottom of the drill holes. And we know that the ore is continuing down, so we're going to drill down to deeper levels between 150 and 180 meters for target 1. Plus, in addition, we have other targets. There is a very nice map. If you look at the RNS, the competent person report executive summary is attached to the RNS. And there is a map of Monte Muambe showing all these soil anomalies with rare earths that we found in yellow and in red. So you can visually very well see that we've not yet drilled all the potential of Monte Muambe in terms of tonnage.
Understood. Now, the final question is a holistic one, because concurrent to all of this, I'm guessing that you're looking for other opportunities that are either synergistic or supplementary to what you have at the moment.
Mm-hmm. This is correct. Altona always had the ambition of being a multi-project company with a portfolio of different projects. So we are in a very good position. I'm based in Africa. Another of our directors is based in South Africa. We have a very good knowledge of the geology of the continent. We have networks. So we are in a good position to identify and acquire new projects. We are constantly reviewing opportunities with very strict criteria. And I'm expecting that within the next year or so, we will have at least one other project. And as we look for projects, we are not necessarily looking for a project that will be identical to Monte Muambe, but rather something with different characteristics, maybe in the same jurisdictions, maybe in another jurisdictions, to kind of spread the risk through different technical characteristics, different geological type of deposits, different jurisdictions, and also different types of rare earths. Monte Muambe is a magnet metal project. These are light rare earth elements. We want now to look at adding into the company's portfolio a heavy rare earth project.
Lovely. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it's a busy day, but it's a day of celebration. If early trading is anything to go by, Cédric Simonet, the Chief Executive of Altona, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, sir.